Welcome to the DIA Global Annual Meeting Virtual Edition Pharma Voice Editor's Take video series. In this episode, Karen Grome, Editor-in-Chief of Pharma Voice magazine, meets with Andrew Schachter, CEO and founder, Axiom Real-Time Metrics Inc.
Andrew, welcome to the Virtual Editor's Take video program.
Hi, Taryn. Good to chat with you today.
It's good to chat with you as well. Andrew, let's talk about the critical importance of a united platform to the success of clinical trials in today's environment. What's changed?
Interesting question, Taryn. It has certainly, things have changed. As we know, obviously, what's happened in the world in the past 6 months with COVID-19 and obviously the impact that it's had on clinical research, it has brought forward the fact that a unified platform has become even more important. Let me break it down just a couple of ways. We're living in a world where obviously all kinds of research on COVID-19 has to be done incredibly fast. There's a tremendous amount of legwork, as we know, to getting studies up and running to begin with, and now we're asked to do those on an accelerated basis. The impact of a unified platform obviously means that we're spending less time running around from different technologies, trying to bring them together, trying to spend all the time it takes us to get them online individually, and really enables us, if it is truly unified, enables us to actually focus on the needs of the research. And I'm not going to suggest the research has become more important, because it is always important in all of the therapeutic areas, but it's certainly been accelerated in terms of timelines more than we've ever seen before.
So are there trials that are more unified than others? So what does unified really mean?
That's a great question. Unified has, like so many industry terms around the world, has been thrown around over and over and over again. Our fundamental idea of unified is that it's single sign-on to every critical piece of information you need to be able to manage your study. And that means each of the stakeholders, sponsor obviously have their requirements, the direct project manager, the medical monitor, the study monitor, the study coordinator, and so forth. And in answer to your question as to what really is unified, it means that you're not connecting just two of the components in the study, you're connecting them all, and they're single sign-on to everything. And I'll give just a simple example. Lots of people in the industry will have, their EDC speak to their IRT, or their EDC speak to their EPRO, but their IRT is left out. So they've unified a portion of what their clinical study requirements look like, but there are still critical natures of them that are not tied together. So for us, the efficiencies that are gained, especially in a world of COVID, and the pressures that it puts on clinical research, means you want to have access to everything from a single sign-on, and not be spending enormous amounts of time managing the individual elements of whatever is separate and distinct in your study.
Andrew, speaking of IRT, which for those in our audience who don't know that term, it's interactive response technology. Tell me about any adaptations you've had to make with respect to delivery of IRT.
Yeah, it's a great point. We're running dozens of studies around the world. They have been directly impacted with respect to shipments that are taking place as clinics shut down or became restricted, and hospital environments the same. We've had to, of course, do every kind of sort of emergency pre-shipment to ensure that that site or hospital is able to carry on with the clinical research and, of course, treat critically ill patients. From a technology standpoint, we've actually done a number of things over the years to prepare for these types of activities. Number one, define within the IRT the ability to do predictive shipping. So instead of relying on a manual spreadsheet to be aware of what drug needs to go to what site or what devices and so forth, the technology is constantly mining the data to ensure that the sites have appropriate supplies on hand, patients that are coming in based on scheduling is already on site. We've also integrated over time the ability for our ePro to speak directly to our IRT. So as patients are taking study drug and recording it in their diary, the IRT is aware of this and then creating an environment where it ships out the appropriate drug to the patients in advance of them needing it. And so the clinic isn't getting on the phone and trying to figure this out. And the third and final point is a lot of clinical programs, not just the individual studies, are being managed obviously by a small number of people, and they need to have the ability to see what's happening with their drug supply across the program. So we've created those tools so that I can glance in and see for my program running across North America that incorporates 3 trials. It takes care of all of that visibility into the drug supply. It lets me know when I need to remanufacture additional supplies and so forth.
Hence a unified look at what's going on with your clinical study.
Exactly.
So, Andrew, in your opinion, what are some other tools, features, functionalities that have now become essential for a clinical trial?
Yeah, it's interesting. Without a doubt, we've had many debates, good debates, of course, with clients about things such as e-source and e-consent. So we know that it's tried and true, the idea of a consent process being done on a piece of paper. It will probably not be eliminated as part of this, but it's caused a conversation to occur where we're having the dialogue to say, what can we do to make it easier on the clinic? Where can we set up circumstances where the patient may not be able to come in or doesn't have to come in order to get consented into the trial? So how do we get them started in a trial if we're not going to present them with a piece of paper in a clinic in the typical fashion? So that's a big change that has occurred where there's a lot more dialogue around e-consent. Number 2 is e-source. So there are a lot of trials that could be managed with a home health nurse going to a site where they're now going to have a conversation with the patient in their home, and the tools are needed where that home health professional is going to be there and can record the appropriate information with the patient directly, thus e-source. There are a lot of uses for e-source coming up. And as we decentralize clinical trials to an extent, it's creating the ability for us to get studies up and running faster, and of course be in a position where patients have to spend less time in clinic.
Andrew, thank you so much for walking us through the unified clinical trial and what the implications are for that, as well as some of the new features and functionalities that are going to be required in the future. Thanks for being part of our Editors Take Video program.
Sharon, thank you. You have a lovely day. It's always a pleasure.
For more information about Axiom Real-Time Metrics, visit www.axiommetrics.com.